Hi there, welcome to the Property Management Podcast Series. I'm Reese Register, I'll be your host today. Our special guest today is going to be Alex from Advanta IRA. Looking forward to talking about self-directed IRAs and how that relates to real estate transactions. But first, just want to talk a little bit about Rented Network, full-service property management company here in the Tampa Bay area. We've put together this podcast series so that we can bring experts into the real estate field that revolve around the real estate transaction and hopefully bring some insight and some knowledge and new ideas to anyone out there looking to expand their portfolio or getting into investing first time. So check us out, rentednetwork.com. Go to our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram. There's going to be lots of valuable tools there. And if you're looking at renting your property, just let us know. We'll come out and do a free rental analysis for you and see what we can do for you. So Alex, appreciate you coming in today.
My pleasure.
Super excited about this conversation. I talked to a lot of investors out there, and I have to say I haven't had one that said, what can I do with my IRA? It's always, we talk about the lending and that financial aspect, but never their actual IRA. So I guess we'll start off with, tell me a little bit about what a self-directed IRA is.
Sure. So the biggest misconception that people have is that you're going to be tied into just purchasing things that you're used to on the stock market. That when you have an IRA or retirement account, that the options that your bank or your broker give you are really the only things that you're allowed to do. That's just certainly not true. So you really have the ability with a self-directed custodian and administrator like Advanta to take advantage of any type of asset you want to buy. So especially for the real estate investor, that means being able to take your IRA and invest it into properties without having to pay taxes, without having to take it out and take penalties and pay all those applicable taxes, and maybe lose 30 to 20% of your money that you've worked so hard for and deploy it into real estate. So essentially, in the most basic terms, is that we give you, or a self-directed IRA gives you, the ability to take back that control, to invest in the things you know, with the people you know, and to use your network of people that you've built in the real estate investing platform. Because, as we all know, real estate investing is a very social interaction.
Yes.
You build up your relationships with your rehab, with your general contractors, with your agents, with your people that go out and find the properties for you, with your wholesalers. So you get to use that network of people to help build your retirement and avoid paying a ton of taxes in the interim as well.
Awesome. So, a lot of times everyone thinks that the stock market's the only way to invest your money because that's just mainstream. Go throw it in the stock market and let's see what it does today.
Exactly. And it's kind of an interesting paradigm for us because we have kind of a reverse of what most people might think, is that when the stock market's doing good, all the businesses that around finance are doing really well too. But it's kind of interesting for us because when the stock market does good, people don't want to pull their money out of it. But when it starts to get a little shaky is when people say, hey, what about real estate? What about getting something that cash flows like a rental or something where the value of it doesn't directly affect my returns? So yeah, it is kind of an interesting 1-2 for us, is that the effect that the stock market is doing so well right now is not necessarily the best thing for self-direction. But when it starts to get a little shakier, there's a few corrections, if you will, then that's when people really start seeing the value in having tangible assets.
Yeah, and it's always good to have all these options available to you, and that's why I'm so glad you were able to come in today, so that our owners or investors can actually see that there's other alternatives out there versus the mainstream. So
certainly, one
question I had was, if I have an existing IRA, can I roll it over into a self-directed IRA? And what about someone that has it with an employer? Maybe they've left their job. Is there a rollover, and is there a penalty for doing so?
Exactly. So if you have any type of old employer plan, whether that's a 401k, whether you work for the nonprofit sector with a 403b, the armed service and your thrift savings plan, old 401ks, anything essentially that an employer added money into on behalf of you and you contributed as well, can be rolled over to a self-directed IRA.
Okay.
The ability to do that, there's no penalties, there's no taxes. You can do as many of those transactions as you like. Some people are under the misconception that you cannot, but you can certainly roll over as much or as little as you want. You don't have to do the entire thing. You can do portions of it. So it's very flexible. You can certainly get some money into it and not have to necessarily make it your, put all of your eggs in one basket kind of decision. So it's very flexible from that regard, and there's no penalties for doing so.
And that's good too, so you can take those baby steps into something new, not having to put all of your assets into one thing a little at a time.
Yeah, and we have a lot of clients that will come in initially, and let's say they'll bring over $5,000 or $10,000, and they'll say, okay, let me look at this, let me figure out how to get a property under contract, let me find that person that's going to actually be the person that I lend to for maybe that flip or maybe do that note with. So it gives people the ability to kind of start small and then build on that experience as well. So the nice thing is that we don't sell investments. We don't have a minimum type of investment for our clients. So you can kind of come in from any range of the spectrum of where you are in investing and kind of find what the good fit is.
Awesome strategy. And then I guess, how it relates to us with the real estate transaction is can you get a mortgage, or how does that work? I found a property, I want to use the self-directed IRA to purchase a property, turn it into a buy and hold. What does that process look like?
Sure. So the majority of the people that buy properties through an IRA purchase them with cash.
Okay.
And then I also say for people that if you're looking to initially get started, buying it cash or doing some type of partnership scenario is definitely going to probably be the easiest way to go about it at first. The answer is yes, you can certainly get a loan within an IRA. There are very specific requirements for those types of loans. They have to be what's called fully non-recourse, meaning that you're not offering any personal guarantee to it. So you're probably going to be going to your private lenders. You're not going to be going to big banks. But if you're doing investment property purchases, you're probably not going to a big bank anyway. Bank of America is not lending on your flip. And we're certainly here to help with that too. There is just a little bit of an extra layer of complexity when it comes to financing in an IRA. But we're here to help with that. But most of the time, people will opt to do it cash or partnerships, because the nice thing with a self-directed IRA is that you don't necessarily have to have all the capital. Obviously, if you can borrow, you don't have all the capital. But you can also partner with people. So you can partner with yourself. You can partner with any number of different people. You can partner with LLCs, trusts, who have you, to bring that up to where you can actually buy the property and have some skin in the game with that. There are some restrictions on whom you can't buy and sell from. So you can't buy or sell anything to your mother, father, son, daughter, basically anyone up and down in your family tree, but you can partner with those people. So we try to let people get creative with that, because the financing option is something that people tend to gravitate towards more in the experienced realm of it. So being able to kind of partner with people and make something work all cash is what we try to educate and coach our clients on.
Awesome. So this whole thing, just as soon as I heard about it, it's been probably a couple of months ago that you could actually do this with real estate. I can't believe that this questions had even come up talking to investors, because most of my investors are going to use buy and hold. So they want to, put their cash into a home, rent it out, see the appreciation on a property. So if they're doing something like that, how does the IRA, the self-directed IRA plan, work into a property management? Because there's going to be expenses for maintenance and the property management expenses. So walk us through what that looks like.
Sure. So the really nice part about that from twofold is that when you get a rental income stream, or you get something that's cash flowing like a piece of real estate or a note or whatever you've purchased, all of that's going to be tax exempt, which is really nice. So you're not having to pay any ordinary income. All of your appreciation is going to be exempted from capital gains. And then with regards to managing the property, there's a few different ways to do it. I always encourage my clients to say, hey, the path of least resistance for this, and for the most time with any rental property, is to have a qualified property manager. Yep. If you're not running around to 3 or 4 different properties trying to keep track of everything, your expenses, have someone qualified that does the bookkeeping for that, so you can track your expenses and your deductions. Not that it matters so much for the IRA with deductible expenses, because it's a tax exempt account, but the ability to have that done easily is paramount. So the way that it would work is just like with any type of traditional property management agreement. You would set it up with the property owner. In this case, it'd be the IRA. So the IRA would sign an agreement with the property manager. They would be the ones then in the scope of the responsibility that could qualify tenants, that are going to pay expenses, do all the traditional property management duties. But the really nice thing is that one of the kind of restrictions, or the pay to play, if you will, for an IRA, is that you can't do any of the work yourself. So having someone there that can coordinate the work and step in and make sure that everything's done and keep those good tax benefits intact is really good. So you can have a property manager. They can pay all the expenses. They report it back to the IRA administrator. And then, if we need to pay for an additional expense, like let's say there's something past the scope of the management agreement, we just write a check directly out of the account. There's no fee for that. It's just, part of the management agreement, and then it's just taken care of from there.
Okay. And, that's perfect that, having a professional property management company that can organize all of that for you, schedule, coordinate maintenance that's done by licensed insured contractors, can hand over monthly statements and a 1099 at the end of the year, so that all that can be grouped together is going to be vital when using this type of process. So if you are looking to invest in real estate and you want to learn more about the self-directed IRA and how you can use that with current IRAs, or if you're thinking about rolling something over, please give Advanta IRA a call. Give Alex a shout. See how he can help you, educate you a little more on how we can make that work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always here to help. We're the biggest part of this is education. The biggest struggle that we have in our market is trying to make sure people understand just how powerful it is to avoid these kind of taxes. And at the end here, I'll kind of give an example of what a real estate investment would look like for you as the investor to see how this actually works. But we do educational seminars weekly, whether they're in office or online. We do local speaking events. So we're big on making sure that you as the investor have the knowledge to go out there and make it work. So just to kind of show you how this works. So numbers are rounded, names are changed, but had a client that purchased a property for $120,000, rented it out for let's say $1,000 a month for 2 years. So then he has $24,000 of tax-free rental income that he's got from that. Now the only thing he's really out is just marginal expenses and property taxes, because you're not exempted from property taxes with that. So then after those 2 years, he decides to sell it. He gets an offer for $150,000, so he purchased it for $120,000, so he has $30,000 of upside plus the $20,000, let's just say even that he had after expenses from that rental income. He can then take all of that money, doesn't have to escrow his taxes, and can immediately turn around and put that into a new property.
So just keep buying and doing the same process and building a larger and larger portfolio.
Yeah, you get more money quicker to get into different properties and into more investments quicker than having to, let's say, okay, you did that, well, let's escrow about 20% of that for my tax bill, and then having to do tax planning and keep holding that back. You don't have to hold back with a self-directed IRA. You can really kind of go and get those deals a lot quicker and help build your portfolio and build your wealth at a much quicker rate than you would be able to do personally. And obviously avoiding paying taxes is something that I'm pretty sure everyone, no matter what your beliefs are, can really get behind on that.
Yeah.
It's certainly something that is kind of universal, and we are really happy, and it's great to see putting a smile on people's faces when they, at the end of the year, when they're saying, hey, I just made $50,000 in my IRA myself. I didn't rely on a broker. I did it all myself. And with great people like property managers helping out to do that is certainly something that we do encourage as well.
And the biggest word I think you said was education. Educating. That's what we're here for as a property management company. That's why we're bringing in experts like Alex from Advanta, so that we can educate our investors how they can expand and better their wealth in the long term. So
exactly, having people that can be good stewards of your investment is very paramount to making all of this work. So whether that's a property manager, whether that's choosing your self-directed IRA custodian, we always tell people, do your research, make sure you're comfortable, and ultimately we're here to help and educate you on the best ways to get things done.
So as people are listening to this podcast, Alex, how do they need to contact Advanta? They need to go to your website, direct line. How does?
Sure. So our website is www.advantaira.com. That has all of our upcoming events, has all of our information. You can give me a call directly at 727-754-9954. We're always happy to answer questions. We're here pretty much 8:30 to 5 every single day of the week. Obviously we do get to take the occasional banking holiday off, so we're closed on Monday, which is nice. But as I said, education is key. Understanding what you're doing is key. So we have a full catalog in our Learning Center online where you can search different topics, whether that's using LLCs or trusts within an IRA, because you can do property and land trust. You can do it in personal property trust within an IRA. You can hold it within an LLC within an IRA. So there's a ton of different ways that you can do this, from the very basic of just buying a rental property or just lending someone a hard money loan to do a rehab project, all the way up to structuring things in land trust and LLCs and doing different creative, awesome types of things. So it's obviously something that we can go into in depth, and I hate to go down too many rabbit holes.
I was about to say that sounds like a lot of conversation, but that's great.
Yeah, no, I teach full hour courses just on each one of those individual topics. So we'd love to have you on the website. We'd love to educate people and make sure that the real estate market in general is educated not only on our topic, but how to avoid taxes and make sure that they're getting a fair shot at the piece of the pie when it comes to investing like this without paying too much.
Yep. And y'all do educational seminars at your office from time to time also, right?
Yeah, we're doing one this Friday from 12 to 1. If you go to AdvantaIRA.com, if you'd like to come, we'd love to have you. And then we do educational webinars or in an office every week. We have an attorney coming in next week to speak on property owners after the close, what to look for in your property physically to help avoid liability issues, how to make sure that you're being a good steward of that asset, and especially with people like property managers, making sure that if you see something, you tell them, or knowing what to listen to from them. And then also we're having some people on from the Policy Institute of the Florida Association of Realtors in 3 weeks to talk about Amendment 2, which has to do with non-homestead property tax exemptions, which will be really good as well. So some good stuff to learn before the elections as well that might affect, especially for the property investors out there as well, be good information.
Yeah, so definitely check Advanta IRA out. There's so much information. We couldn't get it in all in this podcast. So go check them out. Give Alex and his team a call. Let them see what they can do for you in expanding your wealth. Alex, I appreciate you coming in today. Super, super good stuff to know for our real estate investors. Please go subscribe to our podcast. We're going to have some more weekly guests that are going to revolve around the real estate transaction. And thanks so much for listening. Visit our website, rentitnetwork.com. If you're looking at renting your property, we can do a free rental analysis for you. Come out to the home. Investors, if you're looking at purchasing a rental property, give us a call also. We'll work with your agent, or we have investor agents ourselves that can go out. We can evaluate the property from a rental standpoint, the property management, and also the buying and selling portion. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, lots of good information out there. Thanks for joining us. This was your weekly property management podcast series. I was Reese, your host. We had Alex. Thanks so much for listening.